Oh, that's this. Are you seeing the entire screen or only TryHack Me?
Yeah, we are seeing the entire screen. You can see the entire screen.
Okay.
Okay. So just for those who are training for the first time, right? This is by time sessions. We do this every Wednesday. Like we just come together to share knowledge in cybersecurity. It can be on a whole range of topics. So yeah, this is one of our sessions, and we'll have to try to pick up the session. Right? I hope you enjoy the session.
All right. So yeah. Good evening now.
Okay. Yeah. Good
Okay.
evening.
So let's begin. Yeah. So today we'll be working on a box. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but it looks like mustache. Yeah. So mustachio, just like the icon here from TryHack Me. Yeah. So I think the boss has this kind of XML external entity vulnerability would have to exploit to get in, and then when we get in as a normal user, we would have to exploit a binary, not really exploit the binary, but then we would have to do something with the binary to be able to get to become the root user. So like basically that's just the box. So like maybe we can finish within like 2 minutes or something. All right, so without wasting much time, I'll start the basic things we normally start with. That is our Nmap scan. But usually I run the Nmap scan, or we run the Nmap scan before the session. So I think I have my scan here. Before that, I think my terminal is a bit. All right, so now can you see?
It's okay.
All right, so let me don't forget this part. Connect the VPN before. So all right. I think this is it. Yeah. So then I've connected to the TryHack Me VPN. That's how TryHack Me works. Okay, you have to connect to the VPN before. And then I've already started the machine. So we have our machine expiring in 1 hour, 58 minutes. That's like basically like 2 hours. Then we have our machine's IP address. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So how do I hide this thing? Oh my goodness. All right, so basically I just copy the IP address, and then what we're supposed to do is all right, yep. So I was supposed to perform an Nmap scan. So what I would do is just use this command, and then this is how my Nmap scan would have actually this is how I'll perform the Nmap scan based on like the outcome here. Okay. Now this port wouldn't be viewed like just with the first Nmap scan. So you'd have to scan like almost all the ports to get this part. So if you just perform the normal scan, you are going to get port 22 and then port 80. The last port, you really need to scan for all open ports before you get the last one. Yeah. So starting we wouldn't want to start with port 22 because it's for remote logins, and then remote logins, I mean, we need credentials like username and then password. But this one, we don't have any username and password. So I don't think we'd start with SSH, but then we can start with the port 80 here, which is basically a web server, or like it has a web service. It's running a web application on that port. So the best tool to use to run or to check web applications is going to be our browser here. Yeah. So I click on my Firefox, and then I paste the IP address in there. Then let's see what we have. All right. So this is basically the application. When it opens, this is what we see. Okay. Yeah. So mostly what I do is whenever I see this, I first view the page source. of the screen just to see if there is anything hidden here. Okay. So I just checked through here, and then I don't see any hidden stuff here like comments or stuff here. So I go back. Then mostly you would want to check to see what's on every page. Okay. If possible, sometimes you might want to read these things. Maybe they might give you a clue or something. Yeah. Maybe you might find usernames, then later on use them for your SSH connection. All right, so that is the about section. And then we have a gallery session. All right. Then we have a blog session. Okay, so then we can move on to the contact us session. All right, so like we moved on from the home page, and then now we are at the contact session. It looks like most of the pages we didn't really see, or I didn't really see endpoints I can maybe start throwing payloads at. Yeah. But then at the contact form, you realize at the contact page there is a form. Yeah, there is a form here, so we can check to see what happens whenever or when we submit a form. What happens? Okay, so I would like to inspect this. Go to the network tab, and then type in stuff here like name. I'm supposed to clean everything. The address, okay. The email, all right, test, and then the phone number. Phone number 001. I'm only trying to check what happens when I click on the send button before maybe if we would upload any script. All right. So the message is testing. Then I hit on send. Okay, it's actually a get request. So from the URL here, you realize it displays almost everything on the terminal. So as at now, I wouldn't know what to post here because it doesn't get sent anywhere. It's just a normal get request. So, yeah. And even if you check from this side, it's a get request. Then we have all the parameters passed in the URL. So we wouldn't find anything here. All right. So we've seen what these things are. Then I have this extension installed, Wapalizer, which mostly will tell you what the application was built with. So I click on Wapalizer. Then I see Apache HTTP server 2.4.18. I mean, you can search for Apache 2.4.18 just to check if there are any vulnerabilities related to that version of Apache. So Apache 2.4.17 less than this is vulnerable to something here, log rate. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this will run, but let's do something here. Realize just using the port 80, we only found this web page, and then we want to see whether aside these navigations here, whether there are other hidden navigations we actually didn't find on the web page. Okay, so I would use a tool FF to perform a directory brute force. Yeah. A directory brute force. So this is how FF works. You type in the name of the tool -u for URL, then you place your URL in. Then you append it with the FUZZ or the fast command. Then here you specify a word list, and then yeah, it's going to perform a directory brute force or a directory fuzzing for us. So I hit enter. And then let's leave this to run. Let's go back here. I think here the exploit has opened. Let's see what they are talking about here. All right. So based on this steps here. It says upload the exploit to the Apache server, send a request to page, wait 6:25 a.m. for log rotate to restart Apache. Python 3.5 is now SUID. All right. Okay. So I mean, if I'm to just explain like based on what this is saying, maybe we would have to be using some kind of a timer to wait till 6:25, maybe tomorrow before maybe this exploit to work. I haven't gone through this one, okay, to see what the exploit actually does. And then besides, it's even a local privilege escalation. So it would only come in handy when we have access to the machine. So this one wouldn't really work for us. Yeah. So I think we have these things here. Yeah. Let's go back and check what we have here. All right. So from our Fazen, we have robots.txt, our good friend robots.txt. Now, we would want to check robots.txt because mostly when developers develop their applications, they don't want crawlers crawling through certain pages. So they create that robots.txt file, and then maybe the ones that they don't want the crawlers to have access to, they actually put them there. Yep. Yeah. So in our robot.txt, this is the only thing we have here. Doesn't give us anything new other than what we already know, which is basically this part. Okay, that was one. And the rest are actually other endpoints. We can try images, fonts, custom. So let's try images. All right. All right, so like we have series of images here. Cutting mustache. If you go to icons, we have all these icons here. And based on what you would be doing, maybe you would have to get some of the images to check if there are maybe there are some hidden contents in them. But with mustache, I don't think there is anything for us in the images here. So what we can do is go back. I mean, we can check fonts, and you don't leave any stone unturned. So you don't know what happens in the minds of these developers. All right, so the fonts, we have fonts here. All right, so these ones to our fonts. And then we have other fonts here too. All right. So then we come and check our last one, which is our custom. Yeah, custom. Custom. All right. So in our custom, we have two files. We have CSS and then JS, where CSS stands for our cascading style sheets or style sheets. Mostly developers will put their styles in here. Okay. So you realize there's a style.css and then there's a mobile.css. So if you want to read through the CSS file to see if there was anything left behind. Okay. All right. So nothing here. Let's check the mobile.css. And mostly. Okay. All right. Okay. Then we go back. We didn't find anything in the CSS, but now let's check the JS. All right. So in the JS we have mobile.js and then users.back. So if you can check the JavaScript file for the mobile ones, and then maybe, if possible, go through the code. Maybe it's going to leak some kind of information to us. But just skimming through the code, don't really see anything interesting. But then we have this users.back file here, which looks a bit interesting. So let's see if this will work. If I copy the link of the users.back folder, get into this side, and then do something like this to download the folder, like wget, to download the folder from the web server or the file. Now, when I list my items, I have the users.back here. So if I cut users dot bak, the backup. All right, it gives me something. These are weird characters. I mean, this ones make sense. Admin, and then the rest here, they all make sense. Think if it's a backup of a user file, based on how the name sounds, okay, it says user.back, like maybe a backup of the user's file. Maybe we can say that this is an admin user, and then this is some kind of a password hash looking like MD5, I'm sure. Yeah. So let's copy this one. Oh, I was actually doing Ctrl+C, which doesn't work in the terminal like that. Yeah. So I copy it, and then let's try using an online tool to see if we can crack the hash. So I mostly use Cyber Chef. Please, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
All right, sure. If you have any question, you can ask, or if anyone would read them from the chat for me. So I paste it here. I made a guess that it might be MD5. Okay, so let's start with MD5. Actually, MD5, yeah. And then hopefully maybe. All right, so it's not, I'm not sure it's MD5. Maybe we would have to use a different one, but let me just copy it. Since I don't know the hash, the first one I said was MD5. I mean, I made a poor guess. Maybe it's MD5. Maybe it's not. I use another one, CrackStation. So I paste the hash in here. Then oh, thank God, I'm not a robot. Oh, nice. It was actually a SHA-1. Yeah. So I made a wrong guess. So SHA-1 hash, and then the password is Bulldog19. So let me copy this, and then do something like this. So I have that here. So the admin and then the password. So we have a user as admin and then a password as Bulldog19. But then looking here, we didn't really find anywhere we can log in that is from this side. And then we actually fuzzed the root endpoint and we didn't really get anything. But from our Nmap scan, like I was saying, on a normal scan, if I'm to do this, let me copy the IP address again from TryHackMe. And then if I'm to perform, where am I? Rust scan, which actually is going to scan. That's like just like Nmap, okay, but then it's a bit different in the way. Okay, yeah. So now Rust scan finds this one for us here. Yeah. So we're trying to scan a range of 65,535. That is why we have this one here. But without the range, might not work. So this is also another service running on our box. And from the Nmap scan, you can see what it's telling us. It says the title is the same name, but then it has a login attached to it. So this one says home, and this one says login. So basically, you can say that there is a login at this endpoint on this port. So we can get the port 8765, and then where do we go? Let's open it here. I just forgot the port right now. Wow. Okay. 8765. 876. I hit enter. Right now. Now we've been faced with or we have been met with a login screen. A login screen. It actually says it's an admin panel. So I think basically this is where we'll be able to log in as the admin on this this system. Okay. All right, so at this point, if you have any question, please let me know. And then let's see how we can clarify that based on what has just happened. Any question?
Chat, there are no questions in the chat, so I think you can proceed.
All right, so if there are no questions, then yeah, like I said, we had some credentials. Yeah. So we can copy the password. That is what maybe I'll forget. My username is admin, so you can just do like admin and then paste in password. All right, don't save it. So I have this here. Let's see what we have in the source. Let me close most of these things so that I don't end up having most of them open here. Yeah. So I can view my page source. All right. Yeah, so now, like I was saying in the first one, like when we just view the source, realize most of the text have maybe like some colors like red, white, and blue. This one is in green. This is in green. Okay. That one is in green. So it tells us something. If we are to read this text, it says bury. Yeah, that's like bury or bury. It says bury. You can now SSH in using your key. Now, like I said the first time, with the SSH port being opened, I said that you will use it for remote or a remote connectivity. And to use it, you need a username and then a password. And from this statement, there is a name being mentioned here. And it says you can SSH in, that means you can connect.
I need to talk to Rebecca. She's not here. Where is she? I'm sorry, who are you?
All right. But you can SSH in, that is, you can connect into this service or this machine. It never speaks about a password, but it says using your key. I mean, like if you want to access a room, you definitely need a key. So basically, yeah, that's what it's trying to tell us. You have to get the key. So now we are going to look for a key. This is not any just any random key, but what a private, I think a private key that we will need to use to log into the server. So we need a private key of this user. And mostly in CTF challenges, these ones are, we call them hints. Okay? So they give us hints. So we need to find a way to access the SSH private key of this user and then use that private key to gain access to the system. All right. So let's get back to the web interface. Now it says add a comment on the website. Now, before adding a comment, I would like to open another tool called Burp Suite. I just want to use that one to analyze or just see how my data moves from one point to the other. Yeah, so Burp Suite is basically a proxy server. So whatever we do on the web interface will pass through Burp, and then it will now get to the server. Now, if we like, we can intercept it and then maybe manipulate the data we pass to the web server. All right. So, but then it says we should add a comment, right? So okay, Burp has started. Let me just leave it at proxy. And then if you want to leave a comment, let's just say maybe this is a comment. Then let's submit. Wow. So anytime we hit on the submit button, it assumes something will happen. So like I did before, let's check the network tab of our browser that's using the developer tools. So let's hit submit. There's insert XML code. So without any data, it says we should insert XML code, which means we need to put in some kind of XML code here. But if we don't put in any XML code, I think let me reduce it a bit. If I'm not putting in any XML code, let's check this side. And let me hit the submit button. There is a post request that has been made to the home.php. And if we see it's the request test, this is a comment. And it's supposed to be in XML format like what we had when we just clicked on the submit button. Okay. So now what we need to do is get the XML format. Okay. So XML format is going to be how our data is retrieved from the front end and then sent to the back end for processing. We need to get an XML format. And then the format is simply like the normal web language, the HTML. Okay, so let's just search for XML code sample. Mostly I don't like, I don't like the reading stuff. I just go to images. Hopefully the images help us. All right, so let's see. All right, so let's check this one. Did I click? All right, so I think I clicked it. I don't know why it's not working. Oh man. Thinking of getting an image we can use. Let me see. Let me open the image in a new tab. I mean, if it doesn't work that way, I can always open it in a new tab. All right. If this is not clear, but I think you can see this and then that. So let's have this image here and then let's go to the side. The title says add a comment. So that we know that whatever we put in here should be a comment. And then if we add any random text here, the comment preview that comes says name, author, and then the comment itself. Like that is what's supposed to be here. And then it's being previewed for us here. If you come here and then look at the sample, we have two from heading and then body, but then it's all wrapped in what we call a note tag. Okay, like I said, like basically it looks like HTML. So it looks like everything here should be a note. So we can say that our parents here, instead of replace being note, we can say that our parents here would be what? Comment. Then the rest would be the name, the author, and then the comment itself. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Here, we are assuming that everything that goes using this format is going to be a note. And then in the note, we should have the receiving end and then the sending end. And then the body. Was that a question?
No. There's no question.
All right. So let's get to our text editor here. And then let's do this. All right, so we can just have comments here. Then we can have name like this. Someone says there's no supposed to be shortcuts in tutorials, so I think I'll do this. And then this. And oh, it's supposed to be actually comment, right? What am I writing? Comment. Okay. So we can have this here. Copy it. Get to our web interface. And before we send a request, I mean, we can do everything in the developer tools, but let's use the verb server, the proxy server here. So what I'll do is I'll turn on my proxy using Foxy Proxy, or you can do that in your Firefox settings or your browser settings where you search for proxy and then you'll be able to do that. So what I'll do is paste this here and then let the name be Troy, the author be like links, and the comments be comment, right? So let me check something. I think I did that. Right. So I'm not intercepting the request. I just wanted to pass through without being intercepted. And before that, let me copy this so I don't have to type everything again. So I hit on send, submit. And I realize we have reflection here. So at least whenever you are in, so like when you see this, you realize, okay, you did the right thing. Just that we don't have anything for the comment, but that shouldn't be our problems because we have reflection in the first two. So if there is going to be anything here, we can actually do it with the first two. Unless maybe it's supposed to be on the comment. That is when we try to figure out what the comment tag is actually going to be. Yeah. So we check our proxy server. Because I didn't intercept, I think it's going to be in the HTTP history and then it's here. Right. So it gets sent here. And even before that, it said that our data should be in XML. So if you are going to be attacking this system and then the data is supposed to be in XML, there is a vulnerability for the XML external entity where we would be able to maneuver always using the XML to actually access or read certain files from a system. So we can turn off proxy server and then maybe search for XXCN. Now I searched for XXCN and I saw Hacktrix. Okay, so Hacktrix is all right. So yeah, so like I was saying, Hacktrix is also another place where you can actually go and then read or learn stuff from. Yeah, so let's see this. So this is a code in Hacktrix and it says that if your application requires XML and then you have to pass this, like maybe with the XML version, the encoding being a UTF-8, I think these ones will be static, but then using the entity keyword, you can set a variable, maybe assign it to the value 3. And then wherever you want this to be, wherever maybe you want to have 3, you can place the variable name there. So if you check here, I zoom in a bit. So if we check here, it says we have the entity to replace 3, and we have 3 here. So if you are to run this and the product ID is supposed to be 3, you are supposed to get a 3 there, and then the stored one is going to be like the same one here. Yeah. Just from what we have in Hacktrix, that is what I'm trying to explain. So we can get this, but before we get that, let's paste back our code here. Okay. Since we already have this existing, can copy that, go back to Hacktrix, get only this part because I think let's see. With this part, it says that creating a new entity that is for testing, just to see if it works. So we can use this, just these two, copy it, go to this side, that is our web interface, paste it there, and then we can just, it's too long, so just make it NUM. And then to output it, I think we will need to put, is it a $sign or the ampersand? Let's see what they are using. It's actually the ampersand sign, and then we terminate it with a semicolon. So we can use the Shift 7 NUM And then we can do this. So if it's to execute, or if this is successful, we have to see Troy 3. Let's say, all right, yeah. So now you realize we are not seeing just Troy, and I didn't copy the code. Yeah. So we are seeing Troy 3 here. That is how we can actually do some kind of manipulations in the XML format. But we can also use XML to read system files. We can use XML to read system files. So for instance, if I go back here, paste this, oh, why? Yeah, I mean, I didn't copy the previous one. So it's actually always a bit difficult for me. Because of this problem, that is why I tried using Burp Suite, but you realize at this side it's encoded. So maybe if I'm to send this to repeater and then just select everything here, I would see, yeah. So I have this one here, maybe I can do the rest here. But let's try using this side. So let me just type it one more time. And then a comment, right? Then I come here and then it says to read a file. So let's try reading the etc password file in different ways. We can actually set up a variable called example. Then we use a system keyword. Now this time we are going to be using a system command. And then it's actually going to cut or read whatever we specify here for us. And then we can output it in our web interface. Now, because we have reflection, we can actually see the output. So what we can do is, I need this one from here. I paste it here. And then what else do I need? I need the one that helps us read. Yeah, this one. So I need this one too. Then what do I paste it here? I paste it somewhere here. Then I don't want the longer name. Let's just try with something simple like host name. Then I can output it using this EX, which is the name of our variable, terminated. Now, before I hit submit, let me copy this code. I hit submit. All right. So you realize we have something different here. We've been able to get execution, or we've been able to read a file from the system using this format. So we set up an entity or like a variable called EX. Then we use the system command, which shows that we are going to be executing like some system commands, and then we are going to read a file host name from the etc directory. Then we output it at the side. That is why we have this, which tells us that the host name or the name of our machine is actually the Mustachio Mustachio. All right. Now, having this, if you are thinking, all right, so like maybe we need to get into the terminal. Yeah, it's true, we need to get into the terminal. But then how do we get into the terminal? If I get back to what we're copying, it says bury, right? You can now SSH into the machine using a key. So mostly in most machines, like most of the machines I have seen, if there is or there are SSH keys on the machine, it's mostly stored inside the home, the name of user dot SSH, and then the name of the key. Okay, but here we would want to get what we call the ID, I think underscore RSA, this one. This one becomes the private key. That is the name that will be given to the private key in our victim's machine. And since we already have a name here, we can replace it with this part like this. So we can say Barry and then just remove this from there. Like this. And I think this would give us what we are looking for, the ID RSA. So let's see. Do I still have? All right, so I have it there. And I mean, I just get confused with the stuff. So copy this, come back to the web interface, and then replace it with whatever we have here. Okay, then hopefully we should get something. But before that, like I said, let me just copy this and then paste it here. All right. So I hit on submit. And I mean, like we get some output for us, but then yeah, we can see this. It is the beginning of some kind of a private key. So we can let's just see if we view the page source. Let's view page source. Maybe it would have a nice format. Where is page source? Yeah. So we have a nice format. So we can copy this, but actually, it might actually end up causing problems for us. But let's see. All right. So let's copy this one. That's an SSH key. And then let's save it in a file. I think it's nano.
Nana.
I think it's nano.
Or maybe you can just give it an alias and name it Nana.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right. So maybe I don't need this one. Yeah. I'm thinking about this space here, but let's see. So I save it. And now we have from the notes here, we have our username checked. And then we have our key also checked. I don't know why I'm using those ones, but so how then do we SSH into the machine? So to connect to a machine using SSH, there you just use the SSH command, and then you go with the username, with the @ symbol or the @ sign, then the IP or host, host name, something like to reference the machine. But then let's go with IP, and then you introduce this flag. Okay, that says that. Let's see what it says. Let's see. Okay, so the -i says an identity file. Okay, so like if you want to select a file you want to work with, and then if you read from this side, it says like it's supposed to be a private key, or a public key authentication, I mean, that's basically what the -i would do. Then you put in your file or your private key. And I think this is supposed to work. You hit the return key, then it's supposed to work. So let's see. Let's use a different. Now let's just clear the screen from this side. So SSH Barry at what's the IP address of the machine? Let's get it again. So I copied it. Then I paste in the IP address -i. I specify the what was it called? The private key. So then I hit enter. All right, so we have this, we need to accept it. So let's just accept. Now it says there's unprotected private key file. It has like bad permissions with it. So let's see something. Bad permissions. This is supposed to be a private key for public key authentication. And if something is private, I mean, you don't want people to have access to it. But then if you look at the file permissions set on this file, you realize as the owner, I can read and write to the file. Anyone in my group can also read and write to the file. And then anyone else on the system can read the file. I mean, you're not supposed to let people have access to your private stuff. So we have to change the permission set on this file. So I use the change mode command, chmod. Then I just use the 600 command on this one, the file. And then now when I try to view the permissions, now I'm the only one that has access to it. So if there is anyone on the system that is not me, or that is not in the same group as I am, sorry, that is not me, not the same group. Like it was basically the same thing. That is not me, wouldn't have access to this file. So let's try again and let's see what happens. All right. Now it tells me to enter a passphrase. Okay. Which means the private key is also being protected by a passphrase. All right. So let's see what we can do. So we will need the help of another tool, which is this called SSH to John, which will pass our SSH keys, I think maybe to a John format so that John can work with it and then like crack it for us. Basically, maybe John will convert the key to a file that John can read and understand it, and then try to crack it for us. So we can use SSH to John. Then we specify the file we want to pass to John. Start, which is the berry.txt. Now, just this would work, but then the output is going to be spelled in our terminal. So I just pass it to a file called hash.txt. Then I have it saved in. So if I'm to cut berry.txt, this is what's inside berry, which is a private key. And if I'm to cut hash.txt, this is what we have. Okay, so it is like a hash, the hash form of the private key. So I can use John now on this, and then yep. So I'm using John on the hash.txt, and I'm specifying a word list to be from the rocky.txt. And I hit enter. Now it tells me that there is no password hash left to crack. I think it's because maybe it has already been cracked. So what I can do is John, I think it doesn't work this way. Yeah. So just John hashes.txt, and then you add the show because it's already done it. And then it tells us that this is the password hash for the, what was it called? I'm not supposed to put it here. The password hash for the private key. Uriel James, something like that. Yeah. So I can go back and start whatever we started before, which is this part. And it's going to ask me for the passphrase. Then I paste in the passphrase by pressing the Ctrl+Shift+V. And I hit enter. If it's correct, yep, it's correct. So we have access to the system. So from XXE or XML external entities, that is manipulating the XML code to give us or to read a file from the system. And then the file we read was actually a private key. The private key was password protected, so we had to convert the private key into a hash form that John would understand, and then use John again to crack the hash for us, and then we are able to log in with the help of the private key and then the what's it? The passphrase. Okay, yeah. So we're able to log in using that. And then now if you check this, realize this is our ID, the name is Barry, and then the host name is actually Mustachio, like when we log that to the front end. All right. So I try clearing the screen. All right, so like that thing doesn't work here, LL doesn't work here. So I'm setting an alias for it. Right. So now it works. And then basically it's like CTF, so you can cut the user.txt, but yeah. So if you use this method on TryHackMe, you can cut the user.txt, but let's move straight to Prevesk, trying to be root. So trying to be root, I don't know, but it's something different. So it's different for different machines. You might end up looking almost everywhere in the system to find maybe a flaw, a weakness, or a vulnerability that you can exploit to become root. So most of the things I normally do is check the current directory of the user, and then the only things I'm seeing is like the flag, the SSH stuff we got, and then there's cache here. Then I go to the root directory, not actually the root user directory, but the root of the file system here. So I go there and then check what we have there. And then firstly, you look for any anomalies, the things that are not supposed to be here. Okay. Things that are not supposed to be here. If they are not supposed to be here, then maybe if it's something new, you can start looking from that side. If you realize maybe everything, it's okay. What I normally try to do is check what's inside the OPT file. If there's nothing, why am I still doing this? Check what's inside the temp file. If there's nothing, check what's inside dev shim. Like the places that almost everyone can write to. So there's nothing there. Then I check how many users or maybe what's inside the home directory. And you realize there are 2 users here. Okay, so what I normally tell people is if there is a folder inside the home directory, it means like there are users with these names. Okay. So there are 2 users like Joe and then Barry. Let's get back to the home directory. List what we have here. You realize we can get into Joe. So let's see what we have inside Joe. Maybe Joe is some kind of user that is actually related, maybe a relative to the root user, and left something for his uncle. Oh, wow. Like I said, Joe might be someone that left something for his uncle, and then we see, I mean, it's a red flag, like it's a red flag, not like a red flag, but a red flag. It's red. So he left something for his uncle that actually gives you live logs. And then if you check the file permissions, it says now there is read writes. There's an S here. And then there's read write execute for any other user. So with this first one, read write and an S, I think the S stands for this SUID bit, where whenever you run a command, it's actually going to execute with the permissions of the owner of the file. I don't know if that's clear. So like this file here, okay, wasn't actually created by Joe. Based on what we are seeing here, the owner of the file is the root user. And then that same owner has set what we call the SUID bit to this file, which means that if anyone is to run this file, it's going to run with the permissions of this user. And if we check at this side, which is anyone, which is us, this guy, Barry here, or Joe, you realize we can also execute the file. which means that if we are to execute this file, it's going to execute with root permissions, or like with the root as the root user. It's going to execute as the root user. So maybe this is actually our previous vector. So we might stop here, or maybe we'll just try to see if we can prevex using this method. If not, we might try other methods and then see. So let's see what we can do. Let's just execute this file. So let's go into Joe, check it, and then it's there again. So I think the terminal is a bit so let's execute this. I mean, I don't even know what it does, but it says live logs. Just hoping it's not harmful to the system, because this morning, yeah. So we just hit enter, and yeah. So it gives us a live log of this, what do we call it? The system itself, like the web server. So you can see there's a post request to the home.php, and this was the URL, and then that's the user agent and stuff. So first I was trying something like what do you call log poisoning? I don't know why, but I was trying it. Didn't work. So what I did was just stop this thing. And then it's a binary. So if you have to type in file live log, it's actually a binary. I think this is what they used to check, like some kind of a Linux off system. Yeah, it's a binary. It has this set UID stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know what all these things mean, but I know that mostly you determine them by this thing. It's a binary executable. Yeah. So at first I was thinking maybe there's going to be some kind of binary exploitations, like you'll be using other tools to read the code and stuff. Then you realize we can actually view some part of this binary using the strings command. Strings live log. Yeah. The rest down here. So it's all part of the program. Yeah. But reading it, I mean, I don't understand these ones, but I've seen something I understand here, which is this. Right. So the tail command in Linux, I think, would give you, is it the last 5 or last 10? Let's see what happens with the tail command. Okay, so it's actually doing the tail command on the access log, the Nginx server. It's getting the access log from the Nginx server, but then it's using the tail command to get like the last ones. And then it has this -f, which would actually run and then would update based on any change. So let's check for man. So that's using the manual pages of the tail command. It says like it's a follow. So it's going to wait. It doesn't just run and then exits like others would do, but then it will wait. So anytime there's another change, it would actually cut, or let's say display the change as part of the last ones, because that is going to be like the latest last one. Yeah. So that is what's happening here. Okay. That is what's happening here. So there's this tail command here, and there's this -f to follow whatever happens here. That is what's happening in the binary. That is why when we run it this way, we get this, and it's still waiting. So if I'm to make another request and change the user agent, now this time I'm making a request here. Let me change the user agent from this side. Let's see if I can zoom in. It didn't really work. Maybe I'd have to use a different method to control that. Let me change the user agent here and make it caps Troy links. And then let's send it. Okay. Let's come here. No, I think this thing is blocking us. This thing here. Why? So So you realize that there is the user agent I specified here. So that's what it's doing. It's actually following whatever happens on the server, like from the last part. Okay. Now, let's do the strings something again. And this guy should come down here. Strings on live log, I guess. This is the code that has been executed, right? It's okay, yeah. So what we can do to exploit this is an inbuilt Linux command. So if I'm to execute, if I'm to just type tail, it's going to work as in a Linux command. It's going to like try to do something, but because I didn't specify anything, it's just hanging. But if I had specified maybe like a file, it would give me the output. So maybe if I have a file with some kind of names, it will try to give me like the output of the file. But in Linux too, we have what we call like this path stuff. I'm to do echo $, what's that? Path. So we have the path variables up here. This guy keeps disturbing us. No worries. We have this path variables here that have been set here. So when time we run a command, so like if I run tail, this is the first path, user local sbin. It's going to go through this path to see if there is a tail binary. If not, it will go through this to see if there is a tail binary. It will go through this. It will go through all these ones till it gets a tail binary and then executes the tail binary for us. I don't know if it's clear. It will go through like all these paths that have been set. And then see if like, we call it like maybe like environment variables. Yeah, like environment variables we have in Windows here. It's going to go through all these ones to see if it exists. Okay, so to make your work a bit simple for the term that is, I don't know if it's an interpreter or what, just to make your work simple, we could actually add the absolute path to wherever the binary can be found. So maybe if the binary is in the user bin tail, like this, you could use this in your command so that your engine doesn't have to go through all these paths just to get this tail. But here the situation, this path wasn't performed, or it wasn't specified in the script. It was only the name of the binary that was specified. So what we are going to do here is create our own tail binary, add our own path to the already existing path, and then run the binary, make our path the first place to actually hit when the binary is going to be executed. And with that, the system will execute our tails instead of the original tail in the system. I don't know if it's clear. If you have any question, please ask with what I just said. Any question? All right, so since there are no questions, I would like to go to the temp directory. Okay, then just check if there is nano. I don't know how to use VI or Vim. So I normally use nano, but I'm sure I'd have to learn that. So nano, it is actually tail like this. Right. So we are inside the what do you call it? The nano text editor. So we can write a bash script. Okay, that is actually going to be executed whenever our tail binary is called. So we can use this, and then we can just call in bash. What we are going to do is copy bin bash to temp, to the temp directory, which is where we are. Now we are going to change or add the SUID bits again. Is it SUID bit? Yep. SUID bit to that same binary we just copied. Now, since it's going to execute with root, it's going to do everything like this. Like, it's going to do everything with the root permissions. We are going to do this. I think just this. So we are first going to copy the bin bash from wherever it's located, which is bin. We're going to copy the bash binary from bin, place it inside temp, add the SUID bit to this bin bash, and then we can hopefully execute bash as root, and then we will be root. So let's save this and then check it. Okay, we have our tails binary there. Then we change it, we make it executable. We now make it executable. All right. Then we add it to our path. And this is where it gets tricky. Is it this? And then I think this is it. Let me clean the screen. So what I'm doing is to export a path variable, or like export a path to be this temp directory, and then I'm appending the already existing path. Like there's already an already existing path, right? But then I'm trying to add this one to the already existing path. So if this would work, when I hit enter, we shouldn't get any errors. And then when I perform the echo path again, we should have our temp directory at the beginning. So now that's what we've just done. Okay. So we the path hijacking, yeah. Then we can execute the live log again from home Joe. What's that? Live log. So you realize it says live log reader, and then it didn't really show us all these things. So if it didn't show us like the logs, then maybe it executed our malicious binary. So let's check. And yet it did it. So you realize we have bash here. The owner is root, the group is root. It has this SUID bit set, and then it has another one bit set here. So now we can execute this bash binary, which is going to actually give us like another shell or a terminal as the root user, because it has this SUID bit set to the owner section. So whenever we execute this, we are going to have what do you call it? It's executed as root. So, but then we can't just execute bash. We need to add another argument to it, or let's say a tag. So let's see what we'll be adding. So if I do, what's it called? Like, can I do this? Does it really work like that? What's this? Come on. All right, so let's see -p. Let's do this. Oh, it's supposed to be this. It's supposed to be somewhere. All right, so let me just get back here. So we'll do or execute this bash, and we say that we want to execute it with all the privileges of the user that we are executing it as. And then hopefully when I'm to hit the enter key on the keyboard, we should be root. And yep, I think we are root, at least if I haven't typed the ID and stuff. I'm seeing this hash here. So if I type in ID, now even though it says Berry here, but like you can see we are root here, like root. And if I type who am I, if it's going to be fast, yep, I'm root. So this LL wouldn't work here again, so I can do this LA hyphen. Yep. And then we are still in the term, so we can cd into the roots home directory ls hyphen al. And then, yep, we have our root.txt here. Yeah, so we can cut the root.txt, but then that's just, it's okay. Yeah, so I think we'll do the ID. Does this work? Who am I? In my all right. So now I have this, and I think I'm done with Mustachio. Any question? And it's about to rain. Any question?
Hello everyone. If you guys have any questions about the session, like if there's something you didn't understand properly, I'm sure he was doing some things with SSH where he was using public key authentication and all that. If you want further explanation, you can just voice out or explain to you. Like just feel free. This is more like a discussion, right? So if you have any question on your mind, just bring it out. Yeah, because I believe a lot of you have questions, right? Please, and I'm very sure that none of you here is shy, right? So just bring out your questions and then let's discuss it. No questions from the audience. That's interesting.